Hello and welcome to Encore. Today I'm meeting an artist who set her focus to a female perspective and put women front and centre in her photographs. Hannah Starkey's work features in prestigious collections across the globe. She joins me to talk about a new retrospective of her photography taking place here in Paris. Hannah Starkey, thanks so much for joining us. Your show here in Paris is entitled Women. They're the protagonists of these images, and also you yourself, a woman who created them. What is it about the female condition that interests you?
Well, that's probably quite obvious, as in I am one. I move through the world as a woman, as a young woman, as a mother of two daughters, as an older woman, and a mother of teenage girls, and so my life influences my work and my perception of what it means to be female in our visual culture, and the sort of how we negotiate that as women, what the expectations of us as women. It's very interesting to see how, across two generations, so myself and my daughters, how those expectations have changed and in some ways become much more unrealistic. And so I suppose my work, which has been evolving for nearly 20 years and is quite autobiographical, diaristic. There's a little bit of me in there, and it's a collaboration with my subject, who is always female. It explores ideas from a personal level, but also from a societal level, what is expected from a woman, from a young woman to an older woman, and the cues we take from our visual culture. So because I'm not working commercially, because I'm working in the sphere of art, I have ultimate freedom to project women as I like. So that's what I explore. And I also get to do it through photography, which is the medium that I love, and I was introduced to it when I was 14. So it's something that's almost second nature to me, my relationship with photography and the advancement of photography, because it has become the king of our visual culture, the most influential medium that's universal.
Well, indeed, let's take a look at some of the photos featured in the show at the Irish Cultural Centre here in Paris. Now, looking at your photos, I feel like some of them could be documentary images. I feel, for example, I was looking at one specifically, Untitled, from November 2007. That could have been taken spontaneously, perhaps in the road, in real life. What do you think of this difference of categorization between documentary photography and fine art photography?
Well, it's about the language of photography, and we're all now very familiar with the different languages, like you said, documentary, advertising, that sort of thing. And I'm interested in the connections that we make through the different languages and style of photography. So for me, I suppose my style of photography has been called stage or constructed, where I bring the elements of the picture together, set it up, and it's sort of as a mise en scene, which I then populate with my women, either actresses or friends or women I've cast on the street. So there is a mode of working for me that brings all the elements into the picture, and I control it to a certain extent. But photography and its amazing ability for serendipity and chance and luck and what can enter the frame on that split second when the shutter is open is something that I don't control, and that's the magic bit. For me, photography is, well, first of all, it's not so much about the camera, it's about the eye, but it is also still a magic box where you transform what's in front of the lens into an idea.
OK, well, we're going to move to some very different images now from one of the world's best-known fashion photographers who elevated the medium to an art form, some might say. The imagery of the late Herb Ritts is the focus of an exhibition at Paris's European Photography Centre. Ritts began his career during the 1970s at Vogue, Vanity Fair and Rolling Stone magazines before focusing on advertising. His portraits provide an aesthetic trip back to the 80s and 90s. Luke Schrago takes a closer look.
The stars, Herb Ritts has immortalised them all. Madonna, of course, he was the singer's official photographer. But Nicole Kidman too, and Naomi Campbell. An inspiration on the podium during the 1980s, Marie Sophie Wilson often appeared in Vogue's pages through Ritz's lens.
He saw something in the models he used that we weren't aware of. I didn't think I was sexy. He was the one who saw that. He brought it out in us.
Magnifying nudity could almost have been Ritz's creed. The artist caught elegance in his images of the human body, always seeking to capture an impression that would never fade, like this one, the portrait of a group of some of the late 1980s top models.
It's a celebration of the human body, not on its own, but of the body in a space, in its reaction to the atmosphere, to the wind and light, to the sand of the desert, the sea. It's a celebration of a human body in balance with nature. A key word in understanding Herb Ritts is balance.
Like a theatre director only of the human body, Herb Ritts insisted whoever was in front of his lens barely mattered. What counted for him was the emotion he strived to immortalise on film. Now, 14 years after his death, those emotions survive him.
Now, Herb Ritts produced photographs that, like many of yours, are actually staged, but the resulting images are very, very different. How do you think fashion photography has influenced other mediums?
I think someone like Herb Ritts was a master. You know, his attention to line and form, and he was an artist. You know, you're looking at an artwork as well as a fashion image, and that's when I think fashion is interesting, when it's influenced by art and also influences art.
And fashion photography is well known for retouching and Photoshop. Do you use Photoshop?
I love Photoshop because sometimes it can be a street photography, it could be instant, and other times I can construct it. And Photoshop is an extension of that construction in the real, where you can really fine-tune and you can move things about. I don't use Photoshop to perfect the women in my pictures, because I think in a way, when we look at fashion now, a lot of the over-photoshopped images, the models begin to look all the same and you can't distinguish one from the other.
Many of the scenes you create suggest little stories or little worlds. It makes me think of cinema or perhaps even film stills. If we look at this photograph, Untitled, from October 1998, it makes me think of cinema immediately. What sort of cinema inspires you?
Everything, actually. I mean, cinema is, and especially growing up in the pre-digital age, you had to watch what was on TV. You didn't have any choice. And so there was always Saturday matinee, so they would have always a Douglas Sirk film. And then there was film noir, and then there's so many genres of film that have influenced my work. But I think also because we understand the language of film, that I use it to encourage a narrative, or when the viewer encounters the picture, and the pictures are 1 metre by 1.5 meters, so you really do encounter them. The idea is that they envelop you, and the eye can travel across the picture because there is so much detail there to see, and you kind of get your money's worth out of a photograph.
And there's a whole story there, I think. Now, we're finishing off with another exhibition that's here in Paris. It's more anthropological than artistic. It's called Persona. It's taking place at the Quai Branly Museum by the Seine. It's about the idea of being human. What is it that you like so much about it?
It's the feeling. It's the premise of the exhibition is that is how we anthropomorphize objects, or how we give them human traits. And, you know, from primitive art to contemporary art to, I suppose, robots and humanoids, it's very interesting as human beings, the human mind has to attribute characteristics to the objects. So objects like deities or relics or things like that, they become very important to us, so much so that there's an otherness to it. There is a spirit to it, or a spiritualism to these objects. And it's something that we do automatically. It's like our brains are hardwired to look for this otherness. And it's in a very basic example, when you look at something abstract of a face, the brain will always try and pick out the face and make the face from the very minimal amount of information. And it's the same when you're looking up at the clouds and you see forms, and it's this lovely idea of outside our consciousness, how the brain continues to find meaning in what it's looking at.
Okay, well, that's one to catch then if you are in Paris.
You should definitely, yeah.
Yeah, Hannah, thanks so much for joining
My
us
pleasure.
today. We'll leave you with some of the highlights of Persona. Remember, you can catch up with culture news and reports on our website, and you can also follow Encore on Twitter and Facebook. There's more news coming up on France 24 after this.